The wind that morning came soft and curious, like it too had heard something was about to change. In the village of Umuse, the cocks had hardly finished crowing when she walked barefoot down the narrow path, a calabash balanced on her head like it was part of her body. She wasn't the finest girl in the world, no gold teeth, no loud hips, no painted eyelids. But there was something about her. Maybe it was the way she looked at things, like she could see their inside. Or maybe it was just the way her silence spoke louder than most people shout. She passed by the mango tree where the boys usually gathered, and not one of them whistled today. They just watched, as if the air around her had warned them, "This one is not your size." Far away, the prince was coming. Not with drums or guards or chariots, but with dusty shoes and a question in his heart. He had heard of the village girl who carried water like royalty and laughed like someone who had never tasted sorrow. And so he came, not dressed in silk or shining agbada, but in clothes that didn't know they were touching a future king. They didn't meet at the market. They didn't meet at the stream. They met in a moment that felt like it didn't belong to time at all. She was picking fallen mangoes, and he stood watching her like a boy who had just seen color for the first time. "You missed one," he said, pointing to a ripe one hiding behind a rock. She looked up, wiped her brow, and smiled without asking who he was. "Then help me pick it," she replied. That was it. No thunder. No flute. Just two strangers talking under a lazy sun, with no idea that the path ahead would carry both sweet and bitter. Because when a prince touches the edge of ordinary life, something must give. And in Umuse, nothing stirs without someone paying the price. The sun sat higher now, but the breeze still played like a child with no chores. She didn't ask for his name. He didn't offer it. They just walked. Not too close, not too far. Talking about silly things, how goats now preferred banana peels to yam, how the village cat stole meat at night like a train thief. She laughed the kind of laugh that made people look up, not because it was loud, but because it had no corners, free, open, unguarded. He watched her lips as she spoke, but not like a man hungry for touch. He watched like someone trying to learn her language. She didn't carry herself like someone expecting royalty. And that shook him. Back home, girls curtsied before his shadow. Here, she was walking beside him like she was the moon and he was just another evening breeze. A boy ran past them, chasing a chicken. She stopped to help him. Her hands gentle but firm. He watched how she talked to the boy, how she didn't raise her voice but still got listened to. That was power. The kind that didn't shout. The kind kings feared. She finally asked, "You're not from here, are you?" "No," he said. "But maybe I'm meant to be." She gave him that look people give when they're not sure if they're being teased or tested. Then she shrugged. "You look like you carry secrets." He smiled. "I do. But not dangerous ones." By the time they reached the stream, her calabash was still empty, but her heart wasn't. She dipped it into the water, letting it fill slowly. He squatted beside her, scooping water with his hands. Their silence stretched long, but not heavy. Like two people who had found a rhythm without even knowing it. Behind a tree, someone was watching them. Wrinkled hands clutching a walking stick, eyes sharp with knowing. Because in every village, love never walks alone, it's always followed by whispers. And in Umuse, whispers grow faster than yam tendrils. Later that day, the village began to buzz like a disturbed beehive. Not with drums. Not with shouting. But with whispers. The kind that slither from one compound to another, carried by pounding hands and gossipy firewood. She was seen with a stranger, one woman said as she pounded yam like she was punishing it. And not just any stranger. That one walks like a man who's never begged for anything in his life, another added, eyes dancing. Old Mama Neka, the same woman who peeked from behind the tree, sat on her stool twisting her lips. She had seen many seasons, but this one looked interesting. "This one smells like trouble," she muttered, poking at her bitter leaf soup. "Good trouble." The girl didn't say much. Her mind was busy replaying small things, the way he bent to drink from the stream like he was raised by river spirits, the way his eyes smiled even when his lips didn't. At home, her mother noticed it. That soft absent-mindedness. That dreamy clumsiness that made her drop the firewood twice and salt the soup too much. "Who is he?" her mother asked, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "Nobody," she answered too quickly. Her mother said, not believing a word. "Nobody doesn't make people forget their own names." That night, the prince sat on the roof of the guest hut they gave him. The sky above Mews had too many stars. Or maybe it just felt that way because his heart was loud. He hadn't meant to stay long. He didn't even bring proper clothes. But now, something in him didn't want to leave. She was not like the women at the palace who wore perfume like pride and moved like they were always on stage. No. This one moved like water, quiet, necessary, and everywhere at once. In the morning, he would return. Not just to the stream this time, but to her father's compound. Because when a prince starts knocking on doors meant for farmers, the gods begin to listen. And sometimes, they frown. Morning in Mews always came with birds gossiping in the trees and old men clearing their throats like it was part of the rooster's job. But this morning, the air held its breath. Because the prince, dressed not like royalty but like someone's distant cousin, was walking to the home of a farmer. She was sweeping the compound when she saw him. Her heart did that small somersault again, but she kept sweeping. Her wrapper danced gently with the breeze. He stood there, quiet, like a boy unsure if he should ask for more water. Her father stepped out, rubbing his eyes. "Good morning," the prince greeted, with both respect and calm. The man paused, then nodded. "Morning. You're not from this village?" "No, sir. But I found something here I didn't even know I was looking for." The old man raised an eyebrow, then sat on a wooden bench. "Go on. Say what you came to say." The prince took a breath. "I came to ask for time. Time to know your daughter. Properly. If you'll allow it." It was quiet after that. Even the goats stopped making noise, as if they were waiting too. The girl didn't say anything. She just stood near the doorway, eyes low, heart loud. Her father finally said, "My daughter is not palm wine. You don't taste her to see if you like her. But if your intentions are clean, I have no reason to chase you away." "Thank you, sir," the prince replied, bowing slightly. Word spread faster than harmattan fire. That same day, mothers started warning their daughters not to smile too freely. Boys sat under trees muttering, "Even the prince is choosing from this village." One scoffed. But the girl didn't care. She now carried her calabash to the stream with a little more rhythm in her step. And he walked beside her like he belonged there. But in stories like this, happiness never walks alone. Somewhere in the palace, trouble was already tying her wrapper. Back in the palace, things were not quiet. The queen paced like someone whose wrapper had caught fire. Her only son, her heir, her pride, had vanished for days, and now returned with dust on his shoes and nonsense in his mouth. "She sells palm oil," the queen shouted, flinging her fan on the floor. "She fetches water," a palace maid whispered behind the curtain. "She is not even from a royal bloodline," the elders murmured during council meeting. But the prince sat calmly, letting their words hit him like raindrops that couldn't drown a mountain. He didn't shout. He didn't explain. He just said, "I love her." That was the day thunder rolled across the palace floor. Back in Mews, the girl could feel the wind shifting. She noticed it in how some women stopped greeting her. How a few girls suddenly remembered her slippers were worn out. Even her mother started muttering during evening meals. "You're dreaming with eyes open," she said one night, pounding ogbono too hard. "That's not a month for you. That's a season. And seasons pass." But her heart didn't care. It danced like someone had tied a drum to it. Each time he showed up, carrying firewood, helping her count snails, telling her stories about birds that never sleep, she believed a little more. Then one day, he came without a smile. "My mother wants to meet you," he said. She nearly dropped the pot in her hand. "Me? At the palace?" He nodded slowly. "She's not like you. She won't smile. And if she doesn't like me?" He shrugged. "She'll just have to manage." That night, she sat on the mat staring at the roof, wondering what to wear, wondering what to say, wondering if love was enough to walk into fire barefoot. Because when a village girl is summoned to meet the queen, even the moon holds its breath. The day she stepped into the palace, even her shadow walked carefully. She wore her best wrapper, the one with faded roses and a stubborn tear she had stitched with thread that didn't match. Her blouse was clean, but it whispered of rivers and smoke. Her hair was packed low, tight, with beads that clicked gently as she moved. The guards didn't know whether to salute or stare. One of them whispered, "Is this the girl causing thunder in the queen's chest?" She didn't reply. Her eyes were too busy counting pillars. The palace was too clean. Too quiet. It smelled of polish, silence, and old secrets. She held her breath as they led her into the grand hall. There sat the queen. Her coral beads sat like power around her neck. Her wrapper didn't fold, it commanded. And her eyes. They didn't blink. "You are the village girl?" the queen asked, more out of insult than question. "Yes, your majesty." "Do you know where you are?" She nodded once. "Inside a palace?" "No," the queen said, rising slowly. "Inside my son's life." The room swallowed that sentence. Even the curtains didn't move. The girl didn't shake. She didn't stutter. She simply said, "I didn't force his heart. It walked to me on its own." That was the moment the queen really saw her. Not her wrapper. Not her feet. But her mouth, firm but soft. Her spirit, quiet but standing tall. "Leave us," the queen said to everyone. The prince looked back as he was leaving, but she gave him a small nod. She wanted this part to be hers. When the doors closed, silence hung like a stubborn mosquito. "Do you think love is enough?" the queen asked. The girl answered, "I think love is the only thing that sees people without a crown." The queen didn't smile. But she didn't frown either. That was the beginning of something. Not peace. Not war. But a space where maybe, just maybe, something new could grow. The queen didn't speak of that meeting to anyone. But her silence was loud. 3 days passed. The prince kept asking, "What did she say?" And the girl kept replying, "She asked if love was enough." He didn't know what that meant. Not fully. But he held her hand tighter each time they walked. As if to say, "If it's not enough, I'll make it be." One morning, a royal messenger arrived in Umuse with a scroll and a frown. "The queen summons your entire family to the palace," he announced. "For formal talks." The villagers gathered again, whispering, calculating. "Is it marriage they're planning or a funeral?" One old man mumbled, chewing on dry coconut. Her father wore his brown kaftan. Her mother tied the wrapper she used only for burials and births. The girl walked between them, quiet, but her eyes sharp like rain was near. At the palace, drums were not beating. But tension was. The queen sat with the elders beside her, the prince standing behind like a statue carved from stubbornness. "You want a girl from this village?" one elder asked the prince. "Yes." "You want to bring her into royal blood?" "I want to build a new kind of blood." They all murmured. Some impressed. Some insulted. The queen lifted one hand. Silence returned like a scolded child. She stood and faced the girl's parents. "Your daughter is not one of us," she began. but I've seen the strength behind her quiet. I've seen the fire that does not burn the house down. She turned to the girl. If you are to walk with my son, you will not become someone else. You will remain who you are. That is what he needs. Then she turned to the prince. And you, prepare to earn her heart daily. It is not a gift you are owed. He smiled. Finally. No bells rang. No doves flew. But from that day, the palace changed. Because when a girl walks in with dusty feet and leaves footprints in the queen's heart, even the throne must shift. They didn't call it a wedding. They called it a gathering of paths. Because it wasn't just two people joining, it was two worlds learning how to sit at the same table without shifting uncomfortably. The palace didn't throw gold. The village didn't bring masquerades. Instead, they met halfway under the old mango tree, the one that had seen everything from spilled secrets to first kisses. That day, the prince wore agbada, but not too loud. Just enough to remind everyone who he was. And beside him, she wore her mother's blouse, her father's wrapper, and a smile that stretched wider than the sky. The villagers came with pots of jollof that stained fingers, drums that refused to keep quiet, and songs that didn't need lyrics to be understood. The queen arrived late, but when she stepped down from her chariot, she walked straight to the girl, held her chin gently, and whispered something only they heard. The girl nodded, eyes wet but steady. Old Mama Neka, the same woman who first saw them under the mango tree, clapped her hands and shouted, "Love has sense today." Even the goats looked proud. They danced, not like royalty or villagers, but like people who had found home in each other. He twirled her once, twice, then stopped, watching her spin with her hands in the air and dust rising around her feet like a blessing. At sunset, they sat on a mat together, sharing roasted corn, their backs resting against the mango tree. No crowns. No titles. Just breath and laughter. Somewhere far off, another love story was beginning. But this story of a prince who fell in love with a girl who didn't beg for love, who didn't change to be accepted, this one stayed. Because when love doesn't ask you to become someone else, it plants roots. And Muse never forgot the season when the palace bowed to the quiet grace of a girl who fetched water like royalty.